If it hasn't happened to you already, then it's going to happen soon. Even if you don't have friends, you probably have relatives that will send you a wedding invitation at some point. Like for my wife and I, we've been bombarded with friends and family getting married right now. I think it's because we're in that phase of life, mid-20s, 30s, where people are now getting cuffed and they are throwing the key away, if you know what I'm saying. But seriously, we have 2 weddings to attend in 2 months, so I was inspired to make this video. And both of these weddings are going to be out of state, so we have to fly there. And don't get me wrong, I think weddings are really exciting. You get the fancy save the date card at first, and then you get an even fancier wedding invitation a month or 2 after. And you're like, heck yeah, let's go. Let's get some free food. Let's dress up. Let's celebrate with our loved ones. But then you realize, it's not that easy. Once you start looking at the logistics and then you start planning the trip, the costs really start adding up. Between flights, hotels, new clothes, and the gifts, even though the wedding might be over 6 months away, you're looking at a $1,000 price tag just to watch 2 people say, I do. But what if I told you there's a way to attend weddings without draining your bank account? And there's also a good way to decline a wedding if it's too expensive for you just right now. Either way, stick with me because I want to get real with you guys and share exactly how we're planning to celebrate these weddings without sacrificing our financial goals. And I promise you, these tactics can work for any kind of event, from a girls' trip to a family reunion or even to a bougie bar mitzvah. All you got to do is replace the word wedding with insert event here as I go through the video. Okay, the way this is gonna go is I'll start off by breaking down exactly how much it costs to attend a wedding nowadays, and then share the best ways to save on travel, outfits, and gifts. And then I'm gonna teach you how to gracefully decline an invite if it just doesn't fit your budget right now. And if you wanna change that, I'm also gonna give you a simple strategy to help you afford weddings in the future without the stress. So let's get started. Section 1, the cost of attending a wedding. Let me be real with you guys, attending a wedding is not cheap. On average, people can spend over $500, but if you have to travel as well, that can jump to over $1,200. That's literally a whole vacation's worth of money spent on one single weekend. So how do you cut costs and make sure you're not spending way more than is necessary? Well, let's start with the biggest way you can do that, which is through your travel costs. Flights and hotels can eat up your budget quick, so here's how to keep costs pretty low. If you already know people who are going, you can go ahead and split some of those travel expenses. Maybe carpool from the airport together. Maybe share an Airbnb. All these things can divide your cost in less than half. Next, you can choose to fly on more budget-friendly days, like a Tuesday or a Wednesday to get to the wedding venue. Personally, this one's a little bit more difficult for us because these weddings coming up are on the weekends, which is probably most weddings. And with my wife working at a hospital, it's not like she can just take a few days off prior to the wedding just for the cheaper ticket. So try your best with this one. And another way you can save is by skipping the extra pre-wedding events that require more travel. For example, one of the weddings we're going to is for my friend who's Indian, so their wedding is like a multi-day thing, and we're gonna have to miss the celebration the day before called Garba. But still, the actual wedding and reception, we're gonna be there on the day of, but that was just one of the ways we had to compromise in order to save. Finally, if you're trying to save on travel costs for the whole year, maybe turn this wedding trip into a whole vacation if it does align with your budget. Because if you're gonna be traveling out of state anyways, and you're going to a wedding, just make the wedding the primary reason you're visiting, but then go out and make a whole trip out of this thing. And now you won't have to feel resentful thinking that your whole vacation budget was used on just weddings. So go ahead, pack your suit, pack your dress for the wedding, but also bring those flip-flops or their swim trunks if you're gonna make a whole trip out of it. Which does lead me to my next piece of advice: how to now save money on the wedding attire. Here's the thing, you do not need a brand new outfit for every wedding you attend. That's something you see on reality shows and from influencers, and you don't need to follow that culture. Instead, here are a couple ideas to look fresh while lowering your clothing costs. Mix old and new. Use outfits that you already have and just mix up the different accessories you have in your closet. Like if you're a guy with a suit, maybe you just get a new tie and a pocket square that maybe matches this occasion better. Or if you're a woman with a dress, maybe just change up the jewelry or wear a different pair of shoes to refresh that entire outfit. You don't have to go out of your way to buy a whole new suit or to rent a suit for that one night, because it's honestly not even about you. You could also borrow some clothing from a friend. If your friends do have some good style. I remember I had some banquets to attend when I was in high school, and I had a homie. He was my size. He would let me borrow some clothes like his fancy vests or a pair of shoes. Shout out to Jason. And in exchange, he could borrow my pair of jorts. Pretty fair. Finally, you could buy secondhand, of course, or rent a stylish outfit. If you need a suit, you could probably find some gems secondhand at a thrift store, or maybe someone on Facebook Marketplace is selling their fancy outfit that they'll never wear again. And also, just be clean. Like if you're a guy, buy the dress shirt. Don't wear a used dress shirt. That's kind of nasty, all up on someone else's skin. And if you're a lady, of course, be smart about this too. But for me, when it comes to buying new formal clothes, I found some great deals at Burlington and also JCPenney throughout the years. And if you are going to buy something that is a classic, something that is timeless, something that you would actually re-wear. Don't be that guy with the yellow suit, because you'll wear that once, you'll get the compliments, but then if you wear that yellow suit again, you'll just be known as like the banana suit guy, and you don't want that to be you. So keep it low key, keep it minimal, because honestly, the people who should be the best dressed and pop in the most should be the bride and groom, not you. All right, so now that you saved on travel and on clothes, let's talk about the wedding gifts, because that is another big money trap that we could feel pressured to go all out on, all in on. I think that's the right term. How to save money on wedding gifts. Giving without overspending. If you do want to give something meaningful without breaking the bank, here's how you can do that. One way is to team up with others to provide a big group gift. Another way is to just divert from the registry that they provided and get your own personalized gift for them. Because if you really know that person, either the bride or the groom, then you'll really know what they'll actually appreciate. And here's a little inside scoop. Most of those registry gifts that are posted on their wedding website, that wasn't even something that they probably chose themselves. It was probably just something that was recommended from the website like Zola, because they do give you just some ideas you can add to your list. So if you do know the bride and groom are actually into something like Star Wars Lego sets, instead of just the generic air fryer, then get them that dang Star Wars Lego set, You could also just give them cash. Any cash is appreciated. This is what my wife and I did for our wedding. We didn't do the whole registry thing. We just literally gave them our Zelle, our Venmo, and a Cash App link, and they sent money as gifts. So we had full control over where we used the funds. So from personal experience, I know a bride and groom will appreciate those kinds of gifts just as much, okay? Just write them a nice note or a card to go right alongside that cash gift. Finally, don't pressure yourself to get them multiple gifts. Just get them one gift. You're not even immediate family. If you are, maybe you can shower them with a little bit more gifts. But if you're just a friend or a relative, just go with one thing and boom, you're done. Okay, but I need to address this because even with all of these tips, sometimes attending the wedding just isn't financially doable right now. And there is a right way to say no. Recently, I had a friend that just got married and the wedding was just a little bit too far for us. It was on the opposite coast and it was going to be over $800 for my wife and I alone to just fly there, all right? And we just came from the holidays where our expenses were already pretty dang high for the last couple months. So here is how to politely decline a wedding invite. If your friend that is getting married is a good friend, they will typically understand, especially if they know it requires you to buy a plane ticket to come to their wedding. But also, saying no doesn't have to hurt feelings. There's a great way to do it with class. One of the best ways is to just call up the couple personally and express your excitement for them, or you could just send them a heartfelt gift or a heartfelt card, or you could just offer to celebrate with them later in another way, maybe after their honeymoon. Maybe you just get dinner together, maybe you do a FaceTime, whatever works as long, as it comes from the heart. And if you're someone that probably can't attend weddings now, but you want to start attending your homies' weddings in the future, here's a great long-term strategy to make sure you can do that. How to always afford weddings in the future. If you're in a season of life like my wife and I, and we know that wedding invitations are predictable, you can start setting up a wedding fund in your budget. A wedding fund is just going to be another sinking fund that's designated for wedding attendance, all right? The way you would do that is by first estimating how much you would probably be spending on wedding expenses. Maybe that's $1,500 a year. And then each month you set aside a little bit of cash to put into that fund so that you do have the necessary funds once you do start getting those invitations. Personally, We don't have a separate wedding fund. This is just an idea. We just include all of our wedding expenses with our travel fund. So we have a travel sinking fund, and we just count any of these wedding trips as part of our yearly travel. But following a simple principle like having a sinking fund for these travel expenses will keep you proactive so that you're not caught off guard when these fancy wedding invitations do come in the mail. And at the end of the day, weddings are about celebrating love, not about spending a fortune. So with the right planning, you can show up, you can be present, you can enjoy the party, and you can keep your budget intact. So let me know in the comments which of these tips you're gonna use first. And if you also wanna know some other things I think are worth spending your money on, click on this video because I do share 8 items that are over $100 that I believe are totally worth it. Give it a press, and I'll see you guys over there. Peace.